What? Just remember, we shouldn't say strange, okay? We don't want to get in trouble, do we?
We still want to go to the free trips by Panasonic.
We want to do a whole tour of Japan, don't we?
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, welcome. Micro Four Thirds is not dead apparently, because here we have the GH7.
Reports of its death have been greatly exaggerated. It is well and truly alive and kicking.
Oh, please turn camera off and then on again.
Oh crap the bed.
I can't change the system frequency on it.
Why does it go dark?
Yeah. And then I tried pressing again, this item can't be selected.
Apparently those issues could be fixed by refreshing the system. Well, that's not quite what they meant. What they meant is you just go to the camera's menu and hit reset. Anyway, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. If you want to set up your own website or online store, you should check them out.
So, yes, the GH series has been loved by video lovies since for as long as I can care to remember, really. I had the GH4, GH5, and it was great for a long time, a few focusing problems. And I knew people who used the GH5. But since then, people have kind of progressed to bigger sensor cameras. So the GH series has become less special, I would say. So when the GH5 II came out and the GH6, they kind of felt like, yeah, that's cool, but is it really enough? Not really. But this is potentially something to change your mind.
Let me put it this way, I thought I was done with the GH series. In fact, I thought Panasonic was done with the GH series, but I have to admit, this GH7 is really tempting me back. But more importantly, could it be right for you? Well, let's watch on and figure that out.
But basically it's a similar body. It's the surprisingly large, small body.
It's bigger than my S5.
Yeah,
Mark II.
it's a chunky bugger. But you know what? It's quite nice to grip hold of. It's just, is it the Micro Four Thirds kind of body you were expecting? Probably not. You're probably expecting it to be smaller. I used to use the GH4, GH5. It's a bit smaller than this. Of course, it's a different battery. This uses the same battery as the S5 series. And also they've got a fan in this, just like the GH6.
The GH6 seemed like a big step up in bulk but also brawn. Likewise, the GH7 packs away a lot of body features a video shooter might need.
Oh, this is still the tilt up.
Yeah,
and
this is the
flip out screen.
This
I like this.
This is a great idea, because you know when you want to do the kind of low down, you don't want to have to flip it out just so you can get that angle. It's neat to be able to do that, but I guess that means that they have to have extra chunkiness at the back.
Yeah,
but I do like working with this LCD screen.
Everyone needs to do a tilty-uppy shot sometimes, but a lot of hybrid cameras with heavyweight video features these days come with selfie screens for vlogging. The compromise there is that the screen kind of gets in the bloody way when you want to do a tilty-uppy shot. This kind of screen that the GH7 has is a huge blessing for those that like holding the cameras properly.
It's essentially a hybrid camera that you only really care about one thing, and there's the video. So it does 5.7K ProRes RAW.
ProRes RAW.
Inside.
Internal.
Yeah.
So last GX6 do ProRes but not RAW.
Yeah.
Now it's ProRes RAW.
Yeah. And I'm shooting RAW in a minute.
ProRes RAW internal is a huge thing, and literally, they're huge files. No need to deal with external recorders to unlock the flexibility of RAW video. One thing to note is that internally it can only be recorded onto the CF Express card, but you can use an external SSD too. The other slot, the SD, can only be used for recording proxy files when you're taking RAW video, otherwise it's fine for H.264, H.265 files. Would it have been cool to have two CF Express slots that you could record RAW on both simultaneously? Yeah, but most people have got a ton of SD cards, not expensive CF Express cards. Besides, ProRes RAW might not be for everyone anyway, and RAW might be a little overkill if you're just using this for social media content.
Yeah, so for quite some time the GH5 was my vlogging camera of choice, and I have it pretty much set up just like this, with no ND filter on the front, shutter speed, whatever, because I don't think it really matters too much for a vlog. But usually I'll be using Vlog-L and not the internal mic, but that's fine, you'll get an idea of what the internal mic on the GH7 sounds like.
Filming with the full sensor gives you a frame that is tall, taller than a 3x2 frame. It almost looks square. As I've mentioned before, that is one benefit to using Micro Four Thirds.
Open gate, you can crop it for your Insta, or you could crop it for your YouTubes. Or just don't crop it all, you weirdo.
The internal mic is surprisingly alright, but if you want fail-safe great sounding audio...
So another feature is that this has got 32-bit float.
I'm not sure, was it the first camera with internal 32-bit flow audio recording?
Well, you need this anyway.
Well, it's still internal. We just need an accessory. Oh, so many buttons.
Buttons, we like buttons.
Oh, and it got a cover. It's like fighter jet.
Basically, with 32-bit float, dynamic range is so wide it captures everything and you just set level in your editing software. On the camera display, usually you see sound level goes up to yellow zone and red for clipping, but with 32-bit float, there's even green all round. No yellow and red zone.
Testing. That's all green.
Another improvement, I have to tell you because I just can't contain my excitement because I'm literally wetting my pants. It's got face detection autofocus. I know, that's crazy lot.
Finally.
So yeah, it's got improved autofocus, all of your subject detection, any kind of thing that breathes basically, and stuff that doesn't breathe. Vehicles and specific parts of vehicles, right?
Yeah. Cars, trains, bikes, airplane, and you can choose to focus on the bike, or the rider's helmet, or the train cabinet, the driving cabinet, or the plane or the cockpit. Yeah.
I mean, there is a caveat. The caveat is that it's still Panasonic, so the focus isn't going to be as good as Sony, but with its micro four thirds, the depth of field is like so great, you probably won't see it anyway.
Even on the longest end of the 12 to 60mm lens, roughly 120mm equivalent, and f5.6, there's already plenty of depth of field. Still, on the camera screen, I'm seeing the subject detection box following the subject walking towards the camera. It at least instills you with a bit of confidence that the camera is actually doing something right and not getting distracted by completely random elements in the frame.
But I think when they jumped to phase detection, it was just more accurate. When they had the contrast detect, whatever they call it, DFD, or I don't know. For some reason, it would focus on the background or just focus on...
Randomly?
Yeah.
Randomly, it just stopped working.
Even with face detection, it would just ignore the face. And you know what? I'm going to focus on the trees instead.
Oh yes, check out those leaves. I've had the GH7 for about a week now and the focus has been pretty good so far. It actually works, but I can't quite help thinking it's about bloody time. It's hard not to be blasé about the addition of phase detect autofocus. After all, it's been pretty standard stuff for a long time already. But for what it's worth, the subject detection is smarter, like the one seen in the S5 II, which works well even with the backs of subjects, and you can use the directional nubbin to select the subject too. It even stays locked onto your subject until they become about this small in the frame, in which case it might lock onto a closer subject. But overall, the AF performs well. It feels reliable and pulls focus smoothly without any stutters.
Oh, look at that view lock. This was worth it, wasn't it? Look at that magnificent view. I mean, if you say Sony has got the best autofocusing for video, then I would say that Panasonic has got the best stabilization for video.
Sony got the worst.
Yeah, pretty bad, you shill. But it's Micro Four Thirds, so it'll be even better than the S5 II. The S5 II has still got some rolling shutter as well. This will have less rolling shutter, and the stabilization is better just because it's a smaller sensor.
Rolling shutter is as low as you'll get for a camera in this price range, and if you're doing a sneaky ninja walk, even with no E-stabilization, you can get some very smooth shots.
Looks like I'm doing Tai Chi. Tai Chi filmmaking. Although I think the more I do this, I will probably need to defecate. It's going to coax the feces out of my bottom if I keep doing that.
Since I've mentioned the S word, let me coax my Sony FX30 out of my camera bag now.
If you're going to pick a camera that is going to compete with that, it's going to be this. Pretty much the same price, but it's got a bigger sensor. Plus, it's a Sony, so you're going to be right in there with all the popular people. You can crap on Panasonic like all the other Sony fanboys are at the minute. Oh, Panasonic, naughty Panasonic. You held an event in another country? Oh, that's unheard of. Sony's never done, oh, hotels covered and flights covered. Sony's never done that. Long-term loaners? Sony's never done that, have they?
Never.
Oh, never.
Ever.
Okay, so I've also got this. Yeah, got to do it right. So here we are with both cameras side by side, filming with FX30 and a GH7. You can probably see what the stabilization is like. Personally, I think the Sony, the stabilization won't be quite as good. It's a bigger sensor, and Sony stabilization, this is on standard at the minute, not active, will be a little bit shakier.
So both of them using mechanical sensor shift stabilization.
Yeah.
The active IS is activated.
It's
Well,
active.
It's not IS, it's a steady shot.
It's, yes, steady, active, steady shot.
But it cropped in a little bit, so I zoomed out a little bit than before.
The active steady shot on the FX30 looks pretty good, although it still has its moments where it doesn't deal with the camera movements quite as smoothly as the GH7. But the GH7 is on standard stabilization setting here. Even on a standard, the GH7 will look good enough for walking, talking, vlogging shots, but you can still beef up with E stabilization standard with a slight crop, and also with a high setting which incurs a higher crop. The stabilization is for moving shots, and for when you're staying planted to the spot, the boost makes it look almost like it's mounted on a tripod. Just in case that wasn't clear enough, the GH7 has the better stabilization.
I think what we saw with the GH6 is that the dynamic range looked a lot better. You know, even with the GH5, it still looked, how you'd say it's a bit video-like.
Yeah, it is.
There's more pleasing highlight roll-offs with the GH6, so I think
It's comparable to S5 when I tested last time.
I think it looks great. It looks good. Actually, that's too enthusiastic. That's too it looks decent.
Acceptable.
Acceptable.
Agreeable.
It's very agreeable.
The GH7, like the GH6, has dynamic range boost, which does exactly as it says. It's just that it's not only from ISO 2000 for vlog, as in the GH6, but available from the base ISO of 500. The only time when you can't benefit from that boost is when you use frame rates faster than 60 frames per second, where you'll see in the highlights just what you're missing without dynamic range boost. Just something to bear in mind, as the DR boost is applied automatically, but when it is applied, the files look far more gorgeous than you'd expect from Micro Four Thirds, and really not all that lower than what you'll get with the FX30. Sony has a bit more dynamic range, rolling shutter works out a little bit better with the GH7, but FX30 is still very good. The FX30 has better exposure latitude, better highlight recovery, retains details better when dealing with underexposed shots, but the GH7 does raw internal. The FX30 requires an external recorder, but it crops to the point where it might as well be Micro Four Thirds. Same with the 4K 120p crop on the FX30 too. With the arrival of the GH7, if you want an FX, you might be better off aiming higher for a full-frame FX3.
But then Panasonic are doing this thing of real-time LUTs. Unlike the S9, it doesn't have a visible LUT button. But I think the LUT button that was on the S9, you know, the S9 it's almost like a filter button. It's almost like an effects button.
It's the film simulation.
Yes, that's it.
They want you to create your own LUT, share them, download others. It's basically a LUT community of LUT sluts. An interesting development, not limited to the GH7, but also the GH6 benefits from it, is that you can lighten your wallet of $199 to get an upgrade for ARRI Log C3, which provides you with the same ARRI curves. This is fantastic news for those that work in the industry for a smoother workflow, or your main cam is an ARRI. You can use the same ARRI LUTs, but unless you're feeling frivolous, I think you're probably better off saving your $200 and just using Vlog.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's still Micro Four Thirds at the end of the day. There's still going to be people who want a bigger sensor, so that is the biggest problem.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, exactly. But that's fine. It's a perfectly capable camera.
It's a pretty small camera for ProRes RAW internal.
That is true, yeah. Although it's a little bit bigger than S5 too.
Yeah.
A little bit chunkier. It's more capable. So will it succeed? We'll never know. I think there's still going to be some people who understand the benefits. but probably a lot of people are just going to want bigger sensors.
The GH7 is certainly not too little, but is it too late? Well, only time will tell, but for now, the camera speaks for itself. The GH7 ekes out the most you'd think that a Micro Four Thirds sensor is capable of, providing a fantastic feature set and puts the proverbial cherry on top with an auto-focusing system that actually works well now. But as much as I'd like to avoid sensor size talk, what makes but also breaks this camera is all down to the Micro Four Thirds sensor. It can pack a lot of great stuff in for a reasonable price. ProRes internal, top stabilization, low rolling shutter, open gate, and if you like lots of depth of field, you'll get plenty. Basically, because it's Micro Four Thirds. But the problem is, some people want shallow depth of field. A lot of people crave for bigger sensors. For what seems like uniquely GH7 features now will inevitably trickle over to bigger sensor cameras, and then people will start questioning the Micro Four Thirds format again. But perhaps we should stop thinking about the what ifs and just focus on the what now. Ignore the naysayers, pick the camera that you think works best for you right now, and enjoy it. And for now, you can't really get much more formidable than the GH7 for the money.
And there we are, the battery is flashing. Battery doesn't last all that long. Has to be said.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace. It's just the best solution for setting up a website or online store quickly and easily because the interface makes it a breeze to do so. Start off with one of their neat looking templates, customize it, shift things around, and that's it. Get going with a 14-day free trial and 10% off your first order. Links in the description down below.
You know, 10 years, however many years on from Digital Rev TV, and still forget some of the crucial things of a review camera.
It's good. It's good that I think it should use the same battery as mine.
And you,
I can't trust you. You've been to the trip. No, focusing on my S5 Mark II is great.
you got paid to say that. You're just trying to say nice things so that you can get the camera sent to you again, just because you're on the blacklist, aren't you? Okay, we'll attract the face. There we go.
Oh, the stabilization is so good.
It is. No, that's too much enthusiasm, Locke. You've calmed down. But it seemed like not long ago that we had the strange, well, not strange, the rather unconventional announcement of the GH5 II and the GH6. There's a little bunker here. We should go in and then take some B-rolls from inside. Where's the door? There's no door. Oh, they must have bricked it up. Some kind of Starbucks cup, a litter in there. It is the UK. If there's a hole, you have to put some stuff in it.
Starbucks cups is the least worrying thing you can find.
Yeah. Who knows what else is in there? Bodily fluids,